Welcome, 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 y'all. February in the grow tunnel. There's seeds in this bed. This bed was just recently remade, and we're gonna work on this lettuce bed. We got multiple harvests off that lettuce bed, and you can see now it's way past, way overdue for a refresh. So we're gonna do a couple different steps in here. We're inside of a grow tunnel. This is a caterpillar tunnel, easily moved. It's only secured by rebar, no concrete footing, so it can be moved around. And we like growing in here for moderate climate control. It's not heated or any of that kind of thing. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go in, look at this lettuce bed. We'll clear out all the dead plants. Then we'll come through with the broad fork, open up the ground, aerate the ground. Then we're gonna add the compost on top of that and do a direct seed soon after that. All right, check it out. When the soil is good, it's easy to just gently loosen up, scraping the bed and removing the plants, but been able to keep the majority of that healthy soil there. We'll go through and we'll fork out just the dead lettuce plants and then open up the soil again. We don't walk in our beds. These are semi-permanent beds. Once we build them, we stay on the pathway and work from both sides if necessary. That eliminates compaction in the beds. Switch hands to work both sides of the brain. Sometimes lead with your left, sometimes lead with your right. I want to make sure we acknowledge both our masculine and feminine nature. We'll come in next with the broad fork and really get deep. We will not be flipping the bed over. We want to keep the microorganisms and bacteria deep in the soil where they like to be. We don't want to expose them to a lot of light. And then we'll wet this place down real nice. This one, that's plantain. It's a healing herb. Really good for astringing, sucking, pulling, lymphatic, poisons, any of these types of things. You get an ant bite or something like that, you take a leaf off, chew it up, put it on the wound. Plantain. This is a narrow leaf plantain. It also comes in a broad leaf. When it starts showing up wild on your property, you got to think about which ones to keep. You can even uproot it and put it in a safer spot. You ain't got to dig deep. Once we've loosened everything, we just rake it. Rake it so that it can be picked up and put in the compost. We like all this plant material. We want to keep all that plant material. We grew it. It's full of minerals. It's full of organic matter that can be added back into our compost and then added back into the soil. They should come out easy if there's a few that you missed. So in this process, we don't lose anything. We get to keep all the resources that we grew on site. It'll all go back in the compost. Then we'll come through, clean off this pathway, and mulch it with some wood chips. And that will help this pathway to hold moisture, become a habitat for earthworms, fungi, mycorrhizal, and bacteria. Next is the broad fork. On the farm, we should always be harvesting. Harvesting green material, harvesting produce, harvesting seeds, harvesting medicines. Right now, this is all going to contribute to our compost pile. The nitrogen part. The green plants are the nitrogen in the compost. Then we'll put in dry leaves and biochar for the carbon. And sometimes even some landscaping paper that's old and broken down. Or shredded leaf bags. Get everything you need. And then we'll take it to the compost and come back in with the broadfork. And now, for our favorite, come check a look at this broadfork thing. Maybe we'll start here at the end of these beets. The broadfork, right? You see how long those tines are? So even in this situation, we're gonna move backwards so that the area that we broadfork, we're not stepping in that area. We're walking backwards, and that way after we open it, it doesn't get stomped on again. See, just simple opening of the soil. Now, this is deceiving because we built this soil ourselves, and it hasn't even been quite a year. And so it looks a lot softer than might be at your house or at your farm. And that's okay. Just know that it's just a matter of time and avoiding compaction and adding in material that gets you the soil texture and quality that you want. How you approach the soil. Are you tilling it with a mechanical tiller that just goes through and churns everything up? What if you're an earthworm and somebody comes through with a tiller? No mas. So when they come back in and they look at their soil and they say, there's no earthworms, well, there's a reason. There's a reason. Whereas the broadfork is just opening, gently opening, aerating, reducing compaction, getting depth for the roots. That is the approach, methodology. Methodology and material. Just remember that. Material and methodology. Some people do this. Some people do this. Depends on your soil. Depends on your shoulders. Depends on how large your farm is. If it's really large, picking it up and jamming it in for 300 feet might wear you out. So just think about it and behave accordingly. After we open, we'll shape the sides and then add compost. As you can see, we've edged one side. Doing these edges helps to eliminate the weeds and the grass overgrowth. Also gives you a little trench for the water to stay in. So then we typically come in, do both sides, edge the grass out, just loosen it up real good. Then we'll come back through with the claw, pull all that grass out. You'll start to have a nice border. See that grass roots? Start to have a nice border for your bed. Slow down this invasion and incursion of the grass. This is what we're getting out. When you get it out, hopefully you're eliminating months of problems. Doing it by hand obviously requires effort, requires practice. You develop expertise through repetition. But the benefits are We retain the microorganisms and the life. We get a good workout. We're not having to burn fossil fuels to do something that we are designed as humans to do. Tools are going to change a lot. This is the tool we're working with, grub hoe. And then we'll come through with the claw. And that claw will allow us to comb through the bed and pull out the loose plants and the loose grass. Place it on the pathway, come back through with the pitchfork, put it in your wheelbarrow, and take it to the end. Our compost pile is right at the end of the grow tunnel, and we just take all the material down there. Once you get the green matter in there, you can cover it with the dry leaves and biochar if you have it. If you need to lay in some lines, some guidelines, you can. Do a short stake there, tie a piece of twine to it, run it all the way down to the other end, hammer it in, measure in the width of your bed, and then run another one on the other side. You don't have to just eyeball it. Once we have broad forked it and hoed on both of the sides and pulled out the things that we don't want, we go through and we do a light raking and continue to pull out unwanted plant material and start getting the shape ready for a load of compost to get dumped on top. So this is the pre-shaping of the planting bed. Everything by hand, y'all. Everything by hand when it's appropriate. Yep. See that? Get this stuff out of here. You don't want to be replanting grass. Good. So this is a compost mix. It's really a soil compost mix that has a lot of ground up tree material in it and food scraps. It's done outsourced. This is not our homegrown made compost. And the process of creating this compost is a very hot process. And so in that heat, it burns up a lot of the life force energy. So we use this to add organic matter to the beds. And then we come through and we add in our own bokashi mix. We add in some mycorrhizal. We'll add in some alfalfa, some azomite, some kelp, sea minerals. We'll do all types of things to then kick the life force back in. We'll do soil drenches and things like that. But this is to add organic matter to the bed, some water retention, and help us get that shape that we need to keep the roots and the plants secure. Let's go back to the house. Instead of shoveling it out, we'll do small piles and then rake it. Each wheelbarrow should give you about 3 different piles, maybe 4. We're not putting it on extra thick because this isn't the bed making process. We're just refreshing a bed. So you got your 4 piles in here. We'll rake that out flat to shape the bed, come back in and cut lines for seeds or directly plant transplants. Cool? This is our favorite tool, hard rake. You want to just walk through and just go teeth deep. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is teeth deep. Let the rake do the work. This is the first pass. We're just moving the material out. We're just evening the material out. We'll shape it on the second pass. And for anybody who thinks this is overkill, fine. You can think what you want to think. But know for certain that beauty is itself an input. Because when a space is beautiful, you will tend to want to see it. If you create beautiful spaces, you're going to want to check on them. You're going to want to be in them. And as you're in them and you're around them, you'll see what needs to be done. You'll see the weeds. You'll see the dryness. You'll see the fruits. You'll see the seeds. You'll see the flowers. You won't miss anything because you made it beautiful. You'd think that the plants don't like that? Think about how they evolved. They evolved on a planet without us. They evolved in beautiful spaces. Those beautiful spaces attract insects. They attract birds. And what come with the birds and the insects? Music, sounds, droppings. This comes with the birds and the music and the insects. So when we make spaces beautiful, everything wants to be there. Everyone wants to be there. So remember, beauty is one of the most important inputs. And once you get it like this, flip the rake over. That's the final touch. Beauty is a valuable fertility input. It makes spaces more productive. I mean, how do you like that, huh? Now, people have been wanting how-tos. How to refresh a garden bed when you have the right tools, the right material, and the right intentions. We did a scraping with a hoe. We forked out the plant material. We raked out the plant material. We took it to the compost. Then we did the broad fork. Then we chopped up the sides. Then we raked it out. Then we added the material, raked it out. A rake, a hoe, a broad fork. That's really it. A shovel. Once the bed is all raked out, we add in the amendments. Sprinkle bokashi on top of here, alfalfa, kelp, sea minerals, azomite. Sprinkle that just along. You can use, a tumbler, a plastic tumbler full of material, and just sprinkle it down the middle of the bed. You can rake it in, water it in, let the water settle it. If you know rain is coming, do it before the rain. Otherwise, just turn on the sprinklers, let it soak in, and then you can plant in it. Or if you got your seeds, you can cut your seeds in, plant it, cover it, and then water it. Play it by ear. Thank you, y'all. Grow where you are. Wait till I get my soil right.